Hey guys, so a reminder, this term we're doing our design brief and investigation and our design development and planning, and at the end of the term we're flying through with our specialised skills application 2 of testing out our framing joins that we're thinking of using for our major product. So for the first two parts, they're actually part of 3 product tasks, and all 3 of these tasks have got a combined weighting of 50%. Now these used to be sent as one document file to the SACE board for our products. If you want to, you could probably send it off as 2 different types, and that's because we've got either a 2,000 word count or a 12-minute multimodal presentation. Okay, now the reason that I'm saying to send it off potentially as 2 different files is if you are wanting to do half and half. If you're wanting to do half 1,000 word count, for instance, with the design brief and investigation, and then potentially 6 minutes of your drawings and your sketching and coming up with your final ideas, and then doing your showcase and evaluation. Okay, so it's up to you how you present it. The first part, we used to actually send away our design brief and investigations with the sketches as well. We used to send it away to the SACE board as one of those traditional A3 design folders. Okay, so the A3, they're usually black on the front with a plastic bit, and then you'd have them set out as landscape, and you'd have all of your design folio within that, and it would take around about 20 pages worth of designing and investigation and idea generation. So when you're picking which document it is that you're wanting to work on for this, I could highly recommend to probably use a PowerPoint. If you did want it to go for Microsoft Word, then you could, but I'd probably set it up as a landscape so that you're maintaining that traditional design folio type of presentation, which the moderators will be highly biased towards. So to start off with, the stuff that I want to be seeing for your draft at the end of week 2 is a title page. Okay, you should have on there material solution, assessment task 2 part 1, design brief with evidence of investigation and analysis. We have 2020, your SACE ID number, and then an image of something that you're thinking of using as your major product. Okay, now I can highly recommend to not change your mind when you're coming through and defining what you're actually wanting to use for your major product. The whole purpose of this task 1, task 2, and task 3 is to do a design process. Okay, and the actual making of the product is the third part, where you're testing to see whether your designing and ideation and skills development actually matches up together. Okay, the chief moderator the other week for the SACE board was saying, even if your product is not as good as what you thought it would be because of this COVID-19 stuff, the idea is that you're testing your design. Okay, so please, whatever it is that you're choosing to come through and build, do not change your mind. Come through, pick an idea, and stick with it. Okay, from there we want to have a table of contents page that says which page number has got what things on it. Makes it a little bit easier for the moderator to come through and go, oh, yes, this kid definitely has this and this and this, tick, 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 tick. You also want to have on here before any other pictures, is you want to identify what your need, problem, or challenge is. Okay, for example, you might have a very messy floor, or you might not have enough room to actually store your things correctly in your wardrobes. And so the problem might be that there is a large mess of some type, okay, and that you've got to come up with some storage solution to help fix that problem. Okay, there are other alternatives as well. I'm not going to give you them. You can come up with what your own need, problem, or challenge is. You could even do environmental things and what it is that you're wanting to build to combat having some kind of negative environmental impact that's going on at the moment. You also want to have a statement of intent. So I intend to design and build a, and whatever it is that you've just said in your need, problem, or challenge. Your design brief, okay, or your project proposal specifies all of the functional stuff that you want from your project. So I don't want you to pick one design, one picture at the moment and say, this is what I want. What I want you to say is, this is the kind of stuff that I want to include within my project. I want to have it so that it's got drawers. I want to have some kind of ergonomic function to it so that it feels comfortable if it's a chair, that it doesn't just have a 90-degree angle from where I'm sitting to where the backrest is, because that's quite uncomfortable. Okay, you can mention things like the hardware, the kinds of drawer pulls, runners, if you've got feet that you're wanting on the bottom of your project, particular style. For instance, I know that a few years ago the Scandinavian style was quite in. Now there's more like a farmhouse kind of style which is coming in, which is more your kind of white and timber colour palette. Okay, it's completely up to you. You can choose whatever it is that you want, but you need to specify it in your design brief. Within your design brief, highlight it as bold text. Okay, that way later on when we're coming through and we are doing more investigations, you can have those as their own little topic headings next to your pictures going, yes, this design meets this, tick, 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 cross, 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 it doesn't meet this and this, therefore probably not going to use that part of the design idea for my project, but I might use this instead. Okay, so it's a way of keeping your word count down, particularly because the overall of all 3 assignments is at 2,000 words. I'm just going to pull you up an example before I go any further of a B+ example from last year. Now this was on the old SACE, so they had this as assessment type 3. Okay, it's now switched to assessment type 2. This kid's come through, they've got their title page, they've mentioned their SACE ID number, and they've got their final picture of the product that they're intending to build. They've got their table of contents page. This is probably not quite the right formatting that they've got on here. There is an insert that you can do where it inserts a table of contents and it looks a little bit more polished. They've also set this out as a portrait, whereas I can highly recommend to set it out as a landscape, as mentioned earlier. What they've got here is they've got their needs statement. That's topic number 1. They've got their needs statement. They've put it in bold. So for each of those dot points that I've got as a possible checklist that you could follow on our day map notes, use those as a subheading. So we've got needs statement. This kid's got minimal room to store their TV because they've moved rooms within their house. So they've decided to come through and design and build an entertainment unit. They've got their statement of intent. I intend to design and build an entertainment unit with a drawer and doors. And then they've got their design brief. Their design brief has been written as a prose rather than dot point. Doesn't matter, you can do either. Okay, you can even do a combination of the two. What they have done in their design brief is they've got what they're wanting as their design features for their design brief as bold headings. Okay, so they've got access, they've got doors, they've got shelves, they've mentioned their constraints. Okay, so the size of this entertainment unit has to fit within an overall space. They've gone through and they've measured what that actual final space that their overall entertainment unit's actually going to sit in once it's finished. So they've mentioned the height. They've also got a little bit of budget in here as well. So they've mentioned they've only got a small budget to work through. A reminder that when you're applying a finishing solution, usually a tin of paint, stain, lacquer, varnish is around about $40 to $50, depending on what type you're getting. And then they've also got on here style. Now the reason why I'm highlighting these bold words is because when we skip over to the next page where they've started doing some investigations of similar existing designs, is they've actually got those same headings on the right. So they've got size, they've got style, they've got doors, they've got access, they've got shelves, height and a base. If they'd actually written their design brief and constraints a little bit better, they could actually have a table here which has actually got tick, cross, tick, cross, tick, cross. And instead of this taking around about 30 words, it could potentially take only 10 words, and you get the same effect for a lot lower word count. So between now and the end of week 2, the things that I would expect to see within your design brief and investigations are completely finished. Step number 1, material solution title page, a table of contents page, identify what the need, problem or challenge is, your statement of intent, design brief or project proposal, your constraints, and your investigations. Okay, so they are the things that I want to see completely polished by the end of week 2, the 8th of May. Those need to be completely finished. I would also like to see a little bit of something else for materials, hardware, tools, extra things, okay, their current costs. Okay, I want to see some stuff on joining investigations. I've got on here a labeled diagram of a framed project. That's where you would find, for instance, a panelled entertainment unit, and it actually shows on the 2 sides that they are the stiles, and then on the top and the bottom that they are the rails, and any feet, extra fittings, that it's a labelled diagram pointing to what each part is actually labelled. We also want to have a bit of a table including at least 3 different joints that you're thinking of using to hold the project together. So it could be something like a interlocking mortise and tenon joint, it could be a dovetail joint, could be housing joint, could be whatever, but we want to see a labelled diagram of those with advantages and disadvantages, and potentially even a picture on there as well. Okay, so we'd want to see a fair bit of stuff within your draft, but the things that I want to see completely 100% polished and looking like they will on the final deadline are all of those. Title page, table of contents, stating your need, problem or challenge, your statement of intent, your design brief, your constraints, and your product investigations. So it should be a wide variety of no less than 6 investigations. And you should have at least Harvard reference on those, not just a URL at the bottom. That will not do. You need to have proper referencing on this. Okay, and I've got a bit of a written proposal here of how you could actually lay that out if you want to take your time to read that in the process.